let's have our deputy clerk please take the roll.
Councilmember Henry.
Here.
Councilmember Hulse.
Here.
Councilmember Karat.
Present.
Councilmember Matthews.
Here.
Councilmember Weldon.
Here.
Vice Mayor Naren.
Here.
And Mayor Linsky.
Here, thank you. All right, please stand to join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, up next is a brief summary of current events by the mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. So, council, do we have anything to share this evening? Nothing? How about the ribbon cutting for the... Yes. Basically, we were all basically there for the ribbon cutting at Spring Hill Suites. They've been open for a while. They did their soft opening, and they've been very, very busy. So they wanted to schedule the actual ribbon cutting for a time midweek when they thought they wouldn't be booked out. And they were swamped. Yeah, they were full, all rooms full, so they had to get us in and get us out as quickly as possible to get the rooms cleaned up. But no, really great building. We're lucky to have them here in Cottonwood. I think it's been a good opportunity for us to provide some excellent lodging for visitors to the area, and almost all of us were there, so it was really good to see us all, and other council members from Clarkdale. Vice Mayor Clarkdale was there as well, and it was a good event, so glad they're in business and doing exceptionally well. I think they're full most nights. That's great.
And it was a very nice facility. Very nice.
Yep. All right, that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just add, it was nice to see Richard Faust there this morning, who helped kick this whole thing off 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, whenever that was. That was nice to see him. It was a great reminder that the city sold that land, and so we were part of the reasons that it was able to happen there on 89A. So excited about, he told a story offline about no major brand coming to Cottonwood, and he had been thinking about it for years and couldn't figure out why. Very happy that he finally made the choice to come over here and open up a brand hotel in our city. I think it's the beginning. I think that it'll draw other chains, hotel chains to the area, hopefully. They're learning that Cottonwood is a destination. It was just exciting to see all that happen today. So thank you, council, for your support of that project. So for my regular updates, Parks and Recreation worked with the Yavapai Anti-Tobacco Coalition of Youth to do their Cups in the Fence program yesterday in an effort to bring awareness to the harmful effects of vaping, specifically with younger population. This Thursday at 7:30 a.m., Yavapai County Health Department will be hosting a Bike to School Day with Dr. Daniel Bright School. Parks and Recreation has been helping coordinate the approval process for the city and will take part in the ride and help at the bike rodeo. The Birding Festival takes place this weekend at Dead Horse Ranch State Parks. Cottonwood Area Transit will be celebrating Earth Day by providing free rides all day, April 22nd. We encourage those who may not have used our services before to try them out on Earth Day. Science Saturday at the Verde Valley Discovery Center is Saturday, April 23rd. Celebrate Earth Day by using solar power to make tasty treats in your own homemade solar oven. The event is free and all supplies will be provided. The 6th annual Rat Rod Cruise in Old Town will take place Saturday, April 23rd at 11 a.m. This event is free and open to the public of all ages to enjoy. The Transit Department will be running a promotion through April 30th to encourage the public to download the city's official mobile app, My Cottonwood. Each individual who downloads My Cottonwood app on their mobile device will receive 5 free day passes for the CAT Verde shuttle buses. Passes may be picked up at the Cottonwood Public Library or at the CAT office, 340 Happy Jack Way. And then the Verde Valley Wine Festival will be happening in Old Town on April 29th and 30th. Platinum VIP and Saturday VIP tickets are sold out. You can still purchase Friday event evening VIP and general admission tickets online at verdevalleyWineFestival.com. And then the Be Wild at Blazing M grand opening and ribbon cutting will take place on Saturday, May 7th, beginning at 9:30 a.m., and the public will be able to enter and enjoy the park from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Unlimited all-day access wristbands will be only $30. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council.
Great, thank you. All right, let's move on then to presentations. We have one presentation this evening. It's from the Cottonwood Police Department, and they're going to present their annual report for 2021.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Commander Christel with the Police Department. Tonight, we're going to break the presentation in 3 segments. It'll be myself, and Commander Braxton, and then our communications manager, Marie. So without further ado, so again, every year we give the annual report. It's just kind of to give you a state of the union of how the police department is, basically how the crime is going within the city, and any new programs that we might have going, and any trends that we may be seeing. Hopefully you were provided the annual report, which is quite lengthy, and we didn't want to kill you with the 40 pages that was in there, so we kind of broke it down in smaller pieces. So tonight we're going to go through crime statistics and trends, organizational workload, programs and outcomes, transparency, and strategic plan renewal. So patrol workloads. As the patrol commander, we kind of see different variations of how calls for service come in and those trends, if they're up or down. In 2021, we had 12,929 calls for service. Those were just police calls for service. Those don't include the thousands upon thousands more that the communication center sees. This year we had a total arrest of 794. That averages 2.17 arrests a day. Last year we had 900 plus, or in 2020 we had 900 plus, so they're actually down somewhat. Adult booking arrests were 383, which is about 1 booking a day. Those are the bookings that actually go to the jail. Those are actually physical bookings. Juvenile detention remands, we had 10. Those are actually juveniles that are remanded to the Yavapai County juvenile system on the other side of the mountain in Prescott. So we actually had 10 of those last year. We had 380 cite and release arrests, and juvenile referrals 21. Juvenile referrals are pretty much citations. They're citations a juvenile may get. We write a referral to the juvenile authorities, and they determine whether or not they're going to charge it or how they're going to handle it. So we had 21 of those last year. So again, there's a lot of stats in here. I broke them out because I wanted to see, I wanted to really emphasize the things that take our time up, those things that consume our time. And one of them is suicide and suicide attempts calls for service. So in 2021, we had 67 suicide and suicide attempts calls for service. That's 1 every 5.5 days. Total mobile crisis calls for service in 2021 were 157. That's 1 every 2.3 days. So I show these to you because these aren't usually calls for service that take 10 minutes to take care of, 15 minutes to take care of. Typically these things will run us from 30 minutes to 2 or 3 hours depending on the situation. Obviously when we're dealing with mental health, it's not something that we can just be like, okay, can I get your name, date of birth? All right, we're out of here. These are things that we really work on the social side of it when we work with our partners, Spectrum and such, and these are things that Commander Braxton will talk about, but it really takes a lot of that time. So I thought it was important to show, okay, it's not necessarily crime, it's these other social functions that we're doing for the community that are really eating our time up and that are very important, but we don't usually emphasize things that aren't crime driven, and this is important for us to showcase this is where the work's going. Another one that really caught us at first, and I say at first because when I looked at the numbers for the last 3 years for accidents, in 2020 we had a very low number of accidents, and obviously it was the COVID factor kicked in. We didn't have many people on the road. And then this last year, we had 479 accidents, and in 2019, there were only, well, in 2019, the numbers seemed like they were quite a bit down. Well, I went back today to see how much of an increase we had, and it's actually not an increase. If I had all 6 years up there, and in retrospect, I wish I had all 6 years, we're actually seeing a decline. So just a quick, just to give you a quick snapshot, in 2017, we had 551 accidents. 2018, we had 483, and in 2019, we had 507. So although 479, to me, when I first saw that, was a shocker, it's really, we're actually trending downward, which is good to note. Fatals, I know the screen shows 3, we actually only had 2. When I did this stat, I actually included another agency that participates with us, and so we only had 2 fatals last year. Again, we're trying to reduce it to 0. But again, as tourism goes up, we're gonna see these things. Not only are accidents going down, but our non-injury accidents are going down too, which means speeds are decreasing. We're seeing a good trend downward, which is what we need to see for speeds. Traffic safety, just some things that we did this year. GOHS grants, we had $134,000 in GOH grant money this year. Part of it was because we had Prop 207 and we have our typical GOHS yearly grant that we submit for. The Prop 207 went away. Alberto Gutierrez, who's the director of GOHS, reached out to us in December and said, hey, I want to provide you guys a little bit extra money. And so you should start seeing it this week. That new Dodge Charger is out and about, waiting to get marked, but he's already doing some traffic enforcement, so you're going to see him out doing his thing. He's already caught a couple people who just sped by him, and he was able to have a discussion with them. Again, they provide overtime and the speed radar trailer. You've probably seen this out and about. This is just like the speed signs that we have on Main Street and on 12th Street. They also collect data, so when we put them out there, we know how many times vehicles pass and the rate of speeds. We have had some citizens who've come to us and said, hey, I have a lot of speeders on my street. And we put this out there, and we've been able to show the person the actual stats and say, this is the stats of where we're at. We had one person who said every vehicle was going by his house was 20 miles per hour the speed limit. When we showed him really what it was, it kind of shocked him. His perception of what the speed was different. So this is a really good tool in education, even to citizens, so they can understand the speed that you may think people are going may not be reality. So this actually helps us bridge that gap from somebody just saying that we're not doing anything to saying, hey, let's educate on this. We got more LiDARs and DUI educational support. As you can see, Officer Lobby, one of our traffic units, guys is on one of the pedal cars we have. We actually have pedal cars now. We put a course out there, we put drunk goggles on, and people can see the effects of alcohol or drugs while they're driving. Traffic safety workload indicators, total traffic stops last year were 2,501. As Commander Braxton will talk about, we actually added an additional traffic officer last year, and we have an additional canine officer. So this year, in reflection of those stops, we're actually, year to date, we're almost doubled those numbers. So the traffic stops are going up. Citations, I was actually surprised. Although our traffic stops are already going up for 2022, our citations are actually staying exactly the same. So we're doing just as much education with the citizens as we are writing citations, which is part of the goal. You know, we want to change behavior. It doesn't necessarily come from a citation. Sometimes it just comes from having a good talk with somebody. DUI arrest, we had 73 last year. This number, I checked this number today as we came in, and we're already at 50% for DUI arrest on this number, which is good and bad. It's good because we're showing we're proactive. We're out there stopping DUIs before they get in accidents. So hopefully we'll see our DUI arrests go up and our DUI accidents go down. That's the idea, is to see those two numbers pass each other. Last year we had 18 DUI-related collisions, which was an increase of 11.5% from 2020. So we actually want to see that number go down. So some crime trends. Cottonwood continues to be a safe city. Violent crime has stayed level. Firearms assaults and other aggravated injuries were up, while knife assaults and other weapon assaults decreased. Total aggravated assaults in 2021 were 18, and in 2020 they were 14. However, with that said, in 2021 we had 3 robberies, where in 2020 we had 7. So again, we've plateaued on that, and it just seems to be the norm. Residential burglaries increased. They went from 20 to 27, most likely due to the pandemic recovery, and people aren't at home as much now. So as people leave, their houses are, obviously our numbers in 2020 were really skewed because everybody was home. So in order to burglarize a place, you had to get them to go to the store, you know, comparative to work. So those numbers were way down. When in reflection from 2019, the numbers are about the same as they were in 2019 pre-pandemic. Shopliftings and thefts, this one surprised me, decreased in 2021. The largest of these decreases were in the shoplifting categories. So in 2020, we had 185 shopliftings. In 2021, we only had 75. So they decreased by nearly half, and we don't have an answer for why they decreased like that. We have no idea. Maybe it was because the stimulus money, people had money in their pockets and they didn't feel like they needed to shoplift as much, but we don't have a good answer for why they decreased as much as they did. Reported sex offenses have increased. When I say they increased, we had 7 more than we did pre-pandemic. So again, they increased, but when we're talking single digits, that's not something that shocks our conscience. That's something that is just, as our community grows and we get more people in the valley, we're going to see those numbers go up regardless of what we do. Drug trends, narcotics investigations and arrests were down, partially due to Prop 207. So prior to last year, obviously marijuana was illegal. There was a lot more marijuana arrests. Prop 207 kicks in. We no longer have, we have illegal marijuana, but personalized use is no longer illegal. So we see those arrest numbers go down. So that was part of it. The other part was also both our K-9 teams were in training, so our narcotics guys were actually learning to figure out how to find drugs. I know it sounds funny, but it is a process. It is something you have to learn. It's not something you just pick up on. So when I checked the stats comparative last year to this year, this time last year we only had 7 narcotics investigations. This year we already have 32. So those K-9 guys have really picked it up out there, and the patrol guys have really got it going. Last year at this time we only had 5 K-9 assists compared to 76 this year. So we have 76 K-9 deployments this year. This time last year we only had 5 because we only had 1 K-9 and he was just fresh out of the academy, so he was just picking it up. So those 2 guys are up there and they've picked up the pace quite a bit. Community engagement. As most of you know, we have National Night Out, Trunk or Treat, Christmas Parade, Shop with a Cop. I don't need to go through them all. You've seen those. But these are our, this is really how we connect with the community. These things are what matters, because when we're out and all those crime stats I just gave you, people don't want to see us during those times. That's not those happy times. We have to make a connection with the community, and this is how we do it. And the goal is every year to make this list bigger and bigger. Find something else to do every year so that we can engage with the community outside of, Joe Friday, nothing but the facts. It's important that we make these connections. And in fact, I was just talking to Donna, and she went to the Citizens Academy, and I was talking to her the day about it, and she said she loved it, got a lot out of it. And I know Councilwoman Karat's been to 2 now. She's in her 2nd sort of academy, so this is great. But that's how we make those connections. Very important. And lastly, for my part, use of force. Again, we had 12,929 police public contacts, resulting in 794 arrests. Only 27, excluding our SWAT operations. We include SWAT in here because usually when we deploy SWAT, we call it a use of force. Excluding them, we only had 27 last year, which is the exact same number we had the year before and the year before that. I don't know why we're stuck on 27, but I guess that's a good number for us. The number did go up from 2.7 to 3.4, but part of that was because our arrests were down, and because our arrests went down and the number stayed the same, that's where that percentage came up. But as you can see, out of the 27 uses of force, more than half of them were soft hands and holds, meaning that it was, I used these, and that's how I took somebody and was able to do the use of force rather than hard hands. This is what we call hard hands or tasers or these other things. So more than half of them were purely just putting somebody in a hold or using a soft hand technique, which is what we want to do. That's the bottom of the use of force. Well, they don't call it use of force continuum anymore, but the bottom of the use of force, and that's where we want to be. So those numbers are good because that shows that we are using the least amount possible whenever possible. And that is it for mine. And Commander Braxton will continue with the rest of the presentation.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. My name is Garth Braxton. I'm the Support Services Commander for the Cottonwood Police Department. So as we move on, one of the important factors that you may remember from last year is our administrative investigations, which demonstrates the transparency that is critical to our mission, along with the accountability component, which basically shows that we are responsive to the complaints that come from outside our department, as well as those that we observe internally. And As you can see, in 2021, we had 15 administrative investigations that resulted in some sort of corrective action, ranging anywhere from a letter of instruction all the way to verbal coaching and other administrative action. But what's really important about those numbers is that of those 15, 11 were generated internally from our police department. And that's a number that we always like to see that is much higher than those that come in externally from the public, which means that more times than not, we're catching those behaviors before they're manifested outside of our police department. So we have a handle on how our officers are engaging with the community. One of the other programs that we're really excited about is a program called Guardian Tracking, which is a software-based program which allows anyone within our department, from our line level all the way up to the chief of police, to enter positive notes or information about an employee's progress throughout the year. And so it's a good barometer of what an employee does throughout the year. And one of the other neat features is it has a component called early intervention, which means that if an employee is going through a trying time, maybe it's a divorce or a traumatic incident in the line of duty or some other triggering event that should necessitate police awareness, the first line supervisors automatically get a alert or a message that this person is involved in one of these events. So it's really been beneficial for what we used it so far. As Commander Dallad mentioned, mental health and crisis response has taken a significant portion of our time over the last year. In 2021, it's a little bit difficult to see, but we had 157 crisis events as compared to 139 the year prior. And so one of the ways that we're looking to address this is a co-response or a diversion program with our mental health partners, because we know that not every call requires a law enforcement arrest or even law enforcement to respond at the outset of a call for service. And so the earlier we can get mental health involved, or that as a consideration as a likely factor in a call for service, the better the outcomes will be and the less chance that force is used in that type of incident. And some of the innovative models have even placed mental health workers in the communications center with the dispatchers. And so when those initial calls for service come in, there's a mental health worker within earshot that can give a warm handoff or get a warm reception from that call to further identify a mental health incident. Some of the workload indicators for support services, part of the division includes criminal investigations. Ironically, last year we had 100 investigations that were sent to the unit and 100 were cleared. That doesn't necessarily equate to the fact that those investigations that came in during 2021. They could have been carried over from the previous years with the additional ones that came in, but fortunately they were able to clear 100 of the cases that were available, and that kept the workload pretty steady. Our victim advocate saw 234 victims during that year, and her and Tilly are constantly busy, and we can't express enough of how much of an asset they are. And our communications was very busy as well, and in honor of this month, which we felt it very appropriate, it's 911 Education Awareness Month, as well as last week we finished our National Telecommunicators Appreciation Week. We thought it very appropriate to bring our communications manager, Marie Carpenter, up to talk about the workload that they saw in 2021. So I'll turn it over to Marie.
Evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and community. My name is Marie Carpenter. I'm the Communications Manager for the Cottonwood Public Safety Communications Center, and he's tall. I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about our comm center. It is April, National 911 Education Month, and I had a great opportunity to do some countywide as well as inside Cottonwood, and our dispatchers did some PSAs regarding 911 education on Yavapai Broadcasting. So we've had a really fun and exciting month, really getting in touch with everybody about 911 education. As you may know, the Communications Center was constructed in 2013, went live, and 2014, and we went live in that current building December 1st of 2014. Prior to that, we were in an environment in the police department that we call our 12-year temporary situation. It was not ideal for communications operation, but we made it work. The time that I've been here with the city of Cottonwood, I'm coming up on 20 years now, I have seen an evolution in the role of the dispatcher as well as the perception and expectation of the dispatcher. And seeing where we've come from with a two-console sort of closet-y type environment to a full professional communications center that is state-of-the-art is an indicator of that, as well as the training and performance of the dispatch staff. The communications center is, when all positions are full, operating with 17 communications specialists, 3 supervisors, and myself out of that center, and we dispatch for the Cottonwood Police Department, Cottonwood Fire Department, Verde Valley Ambulance Company, Jerome Fire Department, Verde Valley Fire District, Sedona Fire District, Copper Canyon Fire District, and on November 1st of 2021, we welcomed Clarkdale Police Department and Jerome Police Department into our family of agencies, and we welcome them. Currently, our dispatchers are operating with 4 on at most times. We are looking to increase that to 5 because of the trending increase in call volume, which I'll discuss in just a moment. But the dispatchers are monitoring 2 primary repeated police working channels, 1 secondary simplex police channel, 4 primary repeated fire and EMS working channels, 5 secondary simplex fire and EMS channels, 2 primary dispatch fire and EMS channels, as well as monitoring statewide mutual aid, Forest Service, and Yavapai County Sheriff's Office frequencies as needed. So they're also answering 911 and regular phone lines on top of that. So they're staying pretty busy. We had a pretty exciting year last year, and it's kind of ironic that I am talking about the Backbone fire as we are watching smoke rise up over the top of Mingus Mountain right now. So it's a little harrowing that we're right back in fire season again. But last year, we deployed 2 of our dispatchers to the Backbone fire as radio operators, and that's radio operators on a wildland fire incident. And it does require a unique specialized certificate, but because the wildland season was so active last year, there were just not enough of these specialized people available. So we were able to deploy those folks. We do have 4 open positions, mind you. And I've been asked the question, well, how can you justify specialized training and unique deployments for dispatchers as well as maintaining staffing in your center? And the answer boils down to what is expected of us. And it's expected that we support our neighbors, it's expected that we support our community, and we do the right thing. So we do have negotiators who work on the console in the center. We do have tactical dispatchers who respond with our SWAT team to provide additional communication support to the tactical operation. We do have now 4 wildland dispatchers who can support our wildland partners on a major incident, which we're seeing come across the top of Mingus Mountain, at least the smoke is. We do have critical incident stress debriefing and management trained personnel who can help not just with peer support, but help run a debriefing should we face a critical incident, which we do as dispatchers. And we do have one who's a drone pilot. She's working on her pilot's license right now. We're very proud of her. And we've just kicked off the translator program, which I think we've talked about in leadership meetings. And the pilot to that is Jessica Ojeda, and she's one of our dispatchers who's doing a great job translating on the fly as a dispatcher, responding to scenes, to translate in person, and helping really bridge that language gap. We'll move on down to the call volume, and I just want to talk about the 911 volume particularly because it is a sign of the changes in technology that we're seeing that are impacting workload. So we have taken a look at the law enforcement calls, the medical calls, and yes, we do have the COVID factor, but there was a little bit of a decrease in law enforcement calls, a little bit of a decrease in medical calls, but our 911 call volume increased. And if we look at from 2018 to 2019, we saw a total increase of only about 4%. I'm sorry, yes, 2018 to 2019, 2019 to 20, about 6%. And then from the year 2020 to 21, we saw about an 8% increase in total 911 call volume. So if our call dispatch volume is decreasing, but our calls coming in is increasing, we take a look at the types of calls that are coming in. And the main ones are wireless, wireline, and the lesser one is the VoIP calls, the internet phone. Total wireless call increase percentage from 18 to 19 was 8%. From 19 to 20, it increased almost 11%. And then from 20 to 21, another 10% increase. So we're seeing that number increase, but the wireline, the home phone, is decreasing. Decrease in 13, almost 14%, almost 20% in the second year, and then another 12% in that third evaluated year. And the VoIP numbers are staying pretty static, maybe a slight increase as the technology improves. So what does that mean for the dispatcher and the workload on the dispatcher? When I first started dispatching, very few people had wireless phones. They were huge and expensive. Now everybody has them, and they're their primary communications device, and people are mobile. Ron and I were just talking at the city inside Cottonwood about how great the weather is and people getting out and they're recreating, and that call volume in that area is increasing. But the people who are out mobile are seeing the events. And where we may have one incident, we may have 15 callers. And we may have one fire, but 6 callers. Or we may have, something in the middle of the night and it's one call. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just who's there, who sees it, and who decides to pick up the phone to call. So we are seeing that trending upward, and that is an increase in workload, even though the dispatched call number may be static or decreasing. Very proud of our staff. They are doing all the things. They are very, very skilled, very dedicated. They are working overtime. And it is a challenge to fill those positions. And it's across the board. But one of the things that we've noticed, not just from our center or my position, it's the national organizations like NENA and APCO. It's looking at the dispatch position and what the community expects of that. They expect that a trained, qualified individual who knows everything is going to fix everything right now. And that has become the standard of care. That is the actual expectation. TV's done it, life's done it, it is what it is. So we are training to the highest levels of the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch, NFPA, CPR, APCO, NENA, taking advantage of these other opportunities like the drone program, tactical dispatch program. But when we look at our job description, and this is not Cottonwood, this is any dispatch position, it doesn't really say highly trained professional who's going to fix all the things, know all the things, and do it all right now. So we're trying to get a little change in that environment by saying, this is what is expected, and this is what we need to recruit, retain, and train for the future generation of this profession. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. And moving along to our records staff was obviously very busy as well. We were able to capture their numbers, serving over 3,100 visitors to our lobby this past year and disseminating over 1,600 reports. And then lastly, one of our most proud statistics is our volunteers generously donated over 3,000 hours or close to 300 days of their time this past year, which any organization that has or employs volunteers knows that the organization just doesn't run without their dedication and their participation to the mission. So very thankful to have them on board. Unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to 2 of our long-standing volunteers who you may have recognized on YouTube or the paper as the Granny Patrol. Long-standing volunteers, it's just time had come for them to start a new chapter. So we were grateful for their service. And then probably the biggest accomplishment this past year was the completion of our 5-year strategic plan. So as you remember, Chief Gazelle came the first part of 2016 and embarked on a 5-year strategic plan, which to my knowledge was the first that had ever been done here in the police department. And that culminated with the calendar year 2021. And in that 5 years, some of the highlights were we were able to hire and train 2 police aides, which builds our further succession planning to fill future police vacancies. And the goal was to retain or to attract and retain local talent that could eventually fill those roles that we got to know over a period of years. We improved our radio infrastructure with land-to-mobile radio, which enables us to use our cell phones as a communication device directly into dispatch, where I can take my cell phone and talk in Chandler and Tucson across state lines using cellular towers as opposed to our existing radio towers. We've also transitioned from UCR, which is our Uniform Crime Reporting, to National Incident-Based Reporting, which is a federal mandate, but took a lot of time to train and get implemented. And then finally, over that 5-year period, we were able to complete over 179 strategic initiatives, which are encompassed in those 3 previous slides. And so we looked at a number of directions, input from the community, input from the department, our employees, our external stakeholders, in terms of what should guide those directions and where should we spend our time and efforts. And so this year, the beginning of this year, we started our strategic plan renewal. So from 2022 to 2026, we did an external community survey. In November of 2021, we sent out utility billers in the mail through the water department. We advertised online. We advertised in person at some of our signature events that Commander Dowd mentioned, like National Night Out and other community events, and social media. Without a specific carrot, if you will, we were only able to get approximately 200 respondents, but we did put it out there, and it was available for input. We also went to our internal employees and our external community partners, some of our long-standing partnerships that we have that we interact with on a frequent basis. Some local nonprofit organizations, some of the larger businesses and retailers in town. And the key about the strategic plan is that it is a living and breathing document. In other words, we can change the directions based on funding, whether or not it makes sense, or whether it is appropriate to still pursue or continue. And so here are a couple slides from the survey that were completed online. And these are some of the questions and their responses. So the first one, I feel that Cottonwood is a safe place to live, work, and play. And over 97% of those that responded felt that it was. Either they agreed or strongly agreed. The second one, the Cottonwood Police Department's efforts in keeping the community safe are excellent and very good. We received 96% of those. How would you rate the police department in meeting the needs of our community? And we were about 94% that rated us either excellent or good. If you've had any contact with the police department, how would you rate the professionalism of that department? And here we were at 83% that said either excellent, good, or adequate. And then some of the two of the questions that we use to drive our strategic plan renewal is, if you were a resident in Cottonwood, what are your top 3 public safety concerns? And the number 1 was drug-related crime, burglaries, and then traffic-related issues. And so when we start looking at these, one of the things that I think we're most proud of is the fact that before this survey, we had already implemented some of these ideas in order to help counter some of the resident concerns. So For drug-related crime, we were able to add a second narcotics detective that focuses on drug trafficking homicide, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the dangers and trend of fentanyl infiltrating the state and the country. And so this detective is especially assigned to work those cases where there's a homicide related to trafficking of legal drugs. We worked on legislative efforts on House Bill 2021, which would make it a Class 1 felony to transfer a drug that causes the death of another person. We also added, as Commander Dowse mentioned, a second canine officer to work interdiction and traffic enforcement. We added a second traffic enforcement officer to help with the traffic safety concerns. And again, we acquired more training and traffic enforcement equipment through radar signs and traffic trailers. And then the second question, if you owned or managed a business in Cottonwood, what are your top 3 public safety concerns? And those came down to burglaries, drug-related crimes, and transient issues. And so for these, you may be familiar with our Safe Shopper program. We have since strengthened that agreement by lengthening the agreement from 2 years to 4 years, so expanding the time frame. We've also added it as part of our code review process, so any new business that comes into Cottonwood has the opportunity to sign up through this program, and we're estimating about 95% of new businesses do sign up for that program, which enables the police department to contact and educate people after hours if they're found on property with no legitimate business. We also purchased covert devices to help with certain bait operations. We're mindful of catalytic converter theft or construction theft, and so these would help assist in those type of operations. And the last 2, we were fortunate to add an outreach services officer that is a connection to our homeless or unsheltered population within the city, and has received significant rave reviews, working in collaboration with the court and our homeless coalition. And then last, we implemented a safe exchange zone, which is located at the police department. So if a member of the community is doing business and they're fearful or don't want to give out their home address or don't want to go to a location they don't know, they can use the police department parking lot for their e-commerce or trade. And then the last question we looked at was how familiar is the community with the programs that we're launching? So in other words, how good are we at spreading the word of what we're doing, why, and how? And so we saw this number here at about 45 or 50% saying that they were somewhat familiar, but we wanted to increase that. And so one of the things that we did is we embarked on a social media campaign addressing some of our signature programs, such as the Neighborhood Officer Program, our Outreach Services Officer, our Victim Advocate Program, our Citizens Academy, our police aids, and this is part of our This is Cottonwood social media campaign. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the significant assistance we received from Laura Herrera and Johanna Ruchow, both of our city employees, with putting these efforts together. And then finally, you may remember we had a significant donation outpouring of support from our local faith-based organizations last year, raising money to outfit our police department with new fitness equipment. And we couldn't be more thankful, and I thought it was very appropriate to highlight some of the new fitness equipment that make us very proud and, again, very appreciative of their efforts. So with that, I will conclude, as the kids say, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. So we'll open it up for any questions that you may have for either Commander Dow, myself, or Marie.
All right, excellent job, gentlemen. Thank you so much, and Marie. Ms. Carpenter, any questions for PD here? Yeah.
Are we seeing an actual increase in SWAT callouts, or are they just publicizing it a lot more?
We are seeing an increase, but it's because we're using the tools that we have rather than
Commander, I'm sorry, can you get closer to the mic? Appreciate it.
Sorry, we're seeing more of an increase because they know the tool's out there now. So now that they know the tool's out there, they're asking for our help, which is important because we're supporting our community partners, which is part of the regional SWAT team. It's not the Cottonwood SWAT team, it's the regional SWAT team.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
It seems like there's an increased awareness or traffic stops maybe on I-17 of heavy drug busts. You all get involved in that, do you not?
Yes, we have partnerships with Homeland Security Investigations, and we participate with them along with our K-9 units who assist with those. So when they call upon us, we assist with them as needed.
Yes, and important to note they are actually fully staffed, so that's another reason why you're seeing a majority of them. So for several years, they were understaffed on that particular corridor.
Are you all, when you get involved, are those statistics within what you showed today? It's not in Cottonwood, it's out of Cottonwood.
Yes and no. If we take the lead on it, then it will show it as a statistic. If we're just in a support role, you will not see that statistic. And we are generally in a support role.
Okay. Great. Any other questions?
No, just comment, but thanks for everything you guys are doing. You're doing a great job, and the statistics prove that out. Get a lot of complaints, but we don't get them for police, fire, or even the court. So, thank you.
Yeah, and I agree. It's just, it makes me proud to have such just a forward-thinking department like we do, and your holistic approach with the victim services advocate and an officer rep, out there trying to do the best he can with the homeless in our community and working with our court. And we've got some great programs in place to make this, vibrant community, and you're a big part of that, so I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add before you close, the leadership of the police department get a lot of credit for making this happen, but really this is one of the benefits of council action and supporting our local law enforcement officers. So if you remember last year, you guys approved our market rate adjustments, making sure that we were competitive. These are the kinds of programs we can do because we're fully staffed. In the first couple of years I was here, and we've been here, we wanted to do more, but we just didn't have the staff to do it. Simple things like allowing us to add the police aides frees up our officers, sworn officers' time. They're not transporting cars and stuff like that. So while I give our PD leadership and the whole PD department kudos, this really starts with your guys' decision to provide the funding and the support to the whole organization to make it run. So thank you guys, and thank the police department.
Great, excellent. All right, well, let's, I want to just jump back because during the brief summary, I wanted to ask our fire chief to come up and give just a quick update on the fire. And I forgot to do that, so if you wouldn't mind just briefly updating us, thank you.
Sure. Good evening, Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Just a quick update on the Cook fire that's burning in south of Prescott right now. Earlier this evening, we got reports that they've additionally made some greater evacuation notifications. The fire is currently at about 750 acres. There's currently evacuations to a list of areas that are associated in Walker, Breezy Pines. There's several other neighborhoods that are right there in that smaller housing developments that are there. They've all been put in a go notice, and then Groom Creek is in set as part of the Ready, Set, Go program. Aerial aircraft for the retardants were shut down today due to high winds. That doesn't look to improve over the next few days. In addition, they've added a Type 3 incident management team will be on site this evening and be taking command of the incident tomorrow morning. There is shelter open at the Yavapai College Gymnasium, and then also an animal shelter at the Red Cross facility there. Okay. That's the latest update. All this traffic, we just received our little brush fire for the day. Sounds like it's under control down by Dead Horse State Park. So it's that time of year, and we're geared up and ready to go for that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Chief, for the update. Appreciate it. Okay, next is call to the public, and this portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and or action, and comments are limited to a 3-minute time period. And if we could please, Commander Braxton, if you don't mind, could you get the mic for Ms. O'Daniel? You're up first.
Mayor Alinsky and city councilors. I have friends in both Cochise and Yavapai counties who went to D.C. on January 6, 2021, to hear and register their support for President Trump. I am concerned for their safety. They do not want to be arrested and join the J6 political prisoners who are pawns in a power game and whose constitutional rights under the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th Amendments have been stripped away. This past November 4, Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Louis Gohmert of Texas and their staffs gained access to the D.C. Correctional Treatment Facility where the J6 prisoners are being held. Representative Greene reports, quote, "Cells were unusually small. The walls of the cells had residue of human feces, bodily fluids, blood, dirt, and mold. Inmates explained that they did not have access to their attorneys, families, or proper nutrition from the jail. Some inmates disclosed that the cells were crawling with rats and bed bugs. One inmate detained since February 3, 2021, explained that he had been subjected to maximum security, meaning 23 hours in his cell with only 1 hour out, for 4 months, followed by 2 months of 22 and 2. He had gone through 200 days of solitary confinement as well. Her report, titled Unusually Cruel, further details. Number 1, an inmate being punched in the stomach for singing the national anthem. Number 2, a guard responding to the singing of God Bless America with F America. Number 3, J6ers being denied basic medical care, bathrooms, exercise, religious services, haircuts, etc. One of the most colorful protesters on January 6, 2021 was Jacob Chansley, the Viking hat and furs guy known as the QAnon shaman. He is seen on video calling for peaceful protest, yet today is serving almost 3.5 years in prison. Do you, as a body of lesser magistrates, deny that you have a responsibility to speak out against these obvious abuses of power? Please read the brief article titled Armed Insurrection and the review of the explosive documentary Capital Punishment, which I have given you. I have it on DVD and it is explosive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Daniel. All right, up next is Mr. Ed Chenoweth.
Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, and Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak once again. Had a conversation with people at the FAA. They said cities should regulate their airport usage, and it gave us the exact opposite impression that we've always gotten from the council and from the airport manager and everything else. Last week I didn't have time to finish what I was going to say about the plane engine that stopped right over our house, and sure enough, it went unreported. And we've looked into that, and well, common sense tells you somebody is a liar. I guess those Riddler's henchmen maybe, or the Lehner henchmen maybe feel like they don't have to live with the laws that the rest of us have to. There were no council members at the big reveal, and that really enraged a lot of people who were there, the big reveal for the, the science fair with the cardboard things and the artists' impressions of a sleek airplane taking off. Except at some point somebody said, well, there's Mr. Matthews cowering in the corner. And so of course I wanted to talk to him, so we did talk for a minute, and there were no surprises in anything that you might have said. But that snide little gloating look when you said, you move, problem solved, that surprised even me. That's all the time I have for you.
Mr. Chenoweth, if you could keep your comments to the full council, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was about to say the buck stops where, Mr. Mayor? but maybe I better not go there. Because any environmentally aware person would have a real failing grade. I'll just say for the council instead of one person. People I talked to, this is their idea, not mine. They'd like to blast the Rolling Stones outside your house all night. And it's just, you know, people get so enraged after the 200 noise bombings, slaps of the face every day. And yet you remain so untouchable. To aggravate you without breaking decorum in these hollowed halls would be a real tightrope walk, and that looks scary. But I'd kind of like to go there anyway. But, you know, above all, the golden rule, and if your parents didn't teach it to you, you're supposed to figure it out for yourself. That's when you become an adult. And so I wish you would take the thousands of people into account. Take the noise bombings for the benefit of a small handful of people. And if you're spending too much time in the mirror, check the golden rule quotient. One caveat, gotta be honest.
So, Mr. Chenoweth, we're not done. So seeing as how you've addressed me specifically, now it's my turn to address you. Now listen to me. That gentleman over there in the suit and the airport manager, they work overtime, more time. They spend more time on this airport issue for you than they probably should. Listen to me.
Is this a discussion?
No, this is not a discussion.
Okay,
You had
go
your
ahead.
say, I say mine. They spend more time than they ought to trying to help you.
No, they
Do you understand? You don't appreciate it. You don't even thank them, and you accuse all of us of lying to you about these issues. Okay? You come in here like a petulant child because you don't get your because you don't get your way. Okay? You've got problems, and you've got more problems in this airport thing. Okay? We have a lot of services in town that can help you. Okay? You come in here and you embarrass yourself in front of the public. Okay? You sit back there with this face when Miss O'Donnell's talking, like you're just it's just horrible what she's saying. Gesticulating.
I wonder what the police have to say about January 6th.
Okay, see, you come in here talking about Hitler, Putin, trying to equate this with Pearl Harbor. You're all over the place, okay? You need to stop it. You need to go home and think about that. Get some help, okay? You've told me at that meeting that you misrepresent what I say and you say you're going to move. I suggest you go ahead and do it.
Folks, let's move on with the meeting. Mr. Chenoweth, please sit down. Thank you. All right. Next up is approval of the minutes of the joint work session of March 8th, 2022, and the regular meeting of March 15, 2022. And I would move to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
All right, Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Henry seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. We move on then to the consent agenda, just 2 items tonight under the consent agenda. These items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence. So up first, item 1 is resolution numbers 3131 and 3132, appointment of administrative hearing officers. Item 2 is proposed cooperative purchasing contract with Standard Printing Company, DBA, information outsource for utility bill printing and mailing services. Is there an item that a council member or member of the public would like to have removed from the consent agenda? No. Okay, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Henry made the motion, Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's approved. New business is up next. Following items for council discussion. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. If we could have our deputy clerk read resolutions number 3131 and 3132 by title only.
Resolution number 3131, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing Jerry Scott as an administrative hearing officer for the city. And resolution number 3132, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing Robert Foreman as an administrative hearing officer for the city.
Great, thank you. Okay, so new business. First up is request from Barbara Berdar to keep bees at her residence located at 2335 Prospect Circle. I apologize if I got your name wrong.
No, that was
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I am here to hopefully get approved for beekeeping. It's always been a passion of mine. They just amaze me with all that they do with pollination of trees and our vegetables and fruits and everything else, right? So I just would like approval to keep a hive in my neighborhood.
Okay. We've certainly had many residents approach us in the past with this request. I think normally we go ahead and approve them. I'm sure you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's, and Ms.
Yeah.
Jimenez probably worked closely with you on that process, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from council?
No. Well, I live in the same neighborhood, and
Oh, you do?
we need more bees.
Oh, good,
So-
good.
I agree, and I was just going to comment, I don't have any questions, but as a pretend gardener, I pretend to grow things every year and end up killing more plants than I grow. I was happy to see this come across because I
you.
don't see many bees in my little patio garden, so
Yep.
I think it's great.
Great. All right. Yes, please.
Thank you.
I move to grant Barbara Badar permission to keep bees in the backyard of her resident located at 2335 Prospect Circle in accordance with her request and subject to compliance with all laws, regulations, codes, and ordinances applicable to this activity.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the, or excuse me, Councilmember Matthews made the motion, and Councilmember Holst seconded it. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Holst,
Yes.
Councilmember Karat,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
Yes.
Councilmember Weldon,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Naren,
Yes.
and Mayor Alinsky.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, happy beekeeping. You bet. Okay, next is ordinance number 712, amending the zoning map for parcel of land located at 1151 East State Route 89A. Assessor's parcel number 406-05-036P from the current zoning of C1 light commercial and AR43 agricultural residential to C2 heavy commercial. First reading. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Alinsky, members of the council. As you stated, this is a zone change request for a single parcel at 1151 East State Route 89A. The property owner came in inquiring what they could do with the property. Staff identified that on this single parcel, there were two separate zoning designations of C1 light commercial and AR43 agricultural residential. In order to bring the existing business into conformance. The existing business was approved by the city in 1985. If they were to come in today, we would direct them to a C2 zoning location. So their request is for C2, which does two things, brings them into conformance with the zoning. It also brings the single parcel into one zoning designation of C2. Any future uses proposed for the property would have to then comply with the C2 uses that would be permitted at that location and go through the appropriate permitting process at that time. So that concludes my what I have to say. Any questions?
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Paget? No? Okay. Certainly seems to make a lot of sense. I don't know if the applicants are here this evening. If they want to say a few words, you're welcome to. Otherwise, no pressure.
No, we've got to have some time from you tonight.
Okay.
Commercial.
Sir, if you do want to speak, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Fish. I'm a commercial real estate broker in Prescott. We have represented the applicant in this process, and it's always a good opportunity to help people clean up their master plan, get zoning in accordance with the current plan, and just ensure that everything is kind of in a cohesive zoning district, especially along Main Street. So this was a good opportunity to clean up a non-conforming grandfathered use, and glad you're hearing it out tonight. So thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you.
I'll just make a comment. I did watch the presentation at Planning and Zoning, which was more detailed, and I mean, it was just common sense.
Right.
So it really made sense, and it's something you should consider.
Yep, I agree. Any other discussion from council? Questions? No? Okay, well, this is just the first reading, so we'll bring it back for a vote. Appreciate your time.
Mr. Mayor, if
Yes.
I, never mean to leave a dull moment. Mr. Jim, do you want to tell council anything tonight? He made an announcement on Monday that is both happy and sad for me. but he is announced his official retirement date. And he will be leaving us in July. Putting him on the spot, I didn't tell him I was going to do this, but I don't know how many times more he'll present to this body before he leaves, but I'm very appreciative of his service and the work that he's done on our behalf and the professionalism he brings to the department. So I just wanted council and the community to know we're looking for a new planner that we'll be going out for very soon. They're hard to find, but we are grateful and appreciative of Jim and his service.
Council, wouldn't that be a council vote? Could we vote on that?
Vetoed.
Vetoed. All right.
Thank you all for
you.
your support of staff and myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just let us know when the party is.
Right. All right. All right. Let's have our deputy clerk please read ordinance number 712 by title only.
Ordinance number 712, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning map of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona for parcel of land located at 1151 East State Route 89A to change certain classifications thereof from the current split city zoning designations of AR 43 and C1 to a C2.
Great. Okay. I would move to pay the claims.
Second?
Mayor made the motion, Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And then up next is annual review of the presiding magistrate pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 38-431.03.8.1. The council may vote to convene an executive session to discuss this matter subject to the magistrate's right to compel the council to conduct the session in an open meeting. And I didn't talk to you earlier, Judge Kelly, but would you like to compel us to discuss this in open session, or would you like to go into executive session?
I think executive sounds good, but if you want to do it in open, no secrets on my side.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and motion then to move into executive session.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Henry seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone.